So welcome to, oh, Bob is coming in. All right. So welcome to this month's Gen3 CSOC working group. We don't have a very large agenda today, but I'd like to leave it open to, a bunch of time for discussion and thoughts from the community. I think the main topic is an update from CTDS/Jawad on the CSOC dashboard and sort of prototype that he's been rolling out. Uh, I guess the questions for Gordon, Alan, Luca, were there other topics that you wanted to make sure that we covered today? So I can make sure we have time.
Not for me.
I'm okay. I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully they'll just naturally pop up if you have thoughts. Feel free to add them.
Maybe we could ask the other groups doing CSOC to give a 1 to 2 minute, 3 minute update of where they are.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, just because a lot of this is just coordinating and they don't need a formal presentation, but just, an update from a status and update, I think would be helpful. Especially with a bunch of groups working on this.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Bob. All right, so everybody, you thought you were going to get away with just listening, but instead you are going to have to give an update, or we'd like you to. In no particular order, Gordon, can you give a quick update on anything that your group has been working on for CSOC?
Yeah. Though I've been away for like almost a month, so no, like not much really was happening. But yeah, so we progressing well with this CDK work, and I did share some code with Jawad, and yeah, so he was able to use it within the dashboard that he's working on.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. And that's all I've really done for the past month or so. So
Okay. Thanks, Gordon. And then Luca, do you want to give an update? I think you have a colleague here that just joined.
Yeah, Backname. Yeah, Backname just joined our team as a senior DevOps engineer, so he is just onboarding. Just started like a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks ago or so. So yeah, no updates from us on this side yet.
Got it. Okay, well, nice to meet you, Backtamir. From where folks just joined. Hi. We're just going around and giving quick updates. I think Jawad is gonna demo some things, but we wanted to get a 1 to 2 minute updates from other groups if they had anything that they'd been working on CSOC wise that they wanted to share. So the next person is Alan. I don't know if you have anything to share with the group.
A couple of things. One thing that I've been working on is testing the code that the team has been putting out on the Gen3 Terraform repository and using your documentation. Trying to go from a completely empty account to getting all the infrastructure up and running and getting a Gen3 deployment going. Compiling some notes as I go of issues that I run into, and we'll share that either as issues or a pull request, whatever makes the most sense. So that's one thing, just kind of looking at stuff we have in front of us. The other thing, and I'm sorry he's not here, we have a grad student that's working with us for the time being. We don't know how long he's going to be around, as I'm sure you all can relate. But while we have him, I have got him looking at Crow, KRO, because I'm very interested, very excited about the possibility of using that for some kind of a future deployment model. This is something I've talked very briefly offline to Jawad about. it's extremely early days. Crow itself is a nascent project, but it's got some very, very serious energy behind it. For those who don't know, this is a project being jointly managed by AWS, Google, and Microsoft. Looking at ways to do basically platform engineering entirely inside of Kubernetes. So excited to see what might come of that. We'll hopefully at a future date have something to share. We don't have anything at this point. We're still just trying to wrap our heads around how Crow works. But maybe at some point at a future meeting, we could do some kind of a demo, even if it's a simple one.
So thanks so much for the first task of just trying to get this to work. That's extremely valuable, as you know. Thank you. And regarding Crow, whenever, the sooner the better, whenever you have something to say, I think this group would love to hear it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Alan. We'd love to hear how your experience with Crow works, and ditto about the documentation. Let us know if you want to suggest any updates. All right, and then Colin, do you want to give an update for Chromeware?
Is Plowman? No, Plowman's not here. Plowman will probably give a better update. We've been working closely with OCC over the past few months as well. I know there's a lot of progress related to that. Some of that work is related to our work with leveraging Rancher, which is no surprise. We've talked about it before. But I think a lot of it today is also around the infrastructure as code, but for some non-Kubernetes resources alongside as well. And then multi-account commons management. So being able to manage across AWS accounts and some things there, which follows some best practices and things for just broader Kubernetes deployment. But that's where a lot of our effort has been recently. So I know they have good progress there. And then we have some other good progress as far as our standardized stack for some of the other institutions that we're working with on the Rancher deployment, but or not the, sorry, I'm just so used to talking about Rancher today, for the data commons deployment, for the Gen3 deployment. And I think there are some things that we're working through related to some of the Gen3 and the data pipelines and things themselves, but I think we're going to have some questions or some things that we can get clarity on as that part of this, as that part of the stack, but I don't have enough information personally. I haven't been as deeply involved on the technical side the past couple of months. So I'm going to catch up with the team, but I know that stuff is coming.
Colin, sorry, as you said, Plumman's away for a couple of weeks. Real quick, is OCC putting this code into their repository, or is this going back to, I mean, where's the code going? I know some of it is firmware, some of it is OCC, some of it should get back, if it can, to the CDIS. Do you have any idea where the code is ending up at this point?
Right now, it's under heavy development, so I think it's under OCC repositories right now. I'll check with the team. We know our goal is to get it back up into the upstream, but it's just one of those, if we committed what was there today, then it might not be helpful. It might be a distraction. So we're trying to continue to work through that stuff, but I'll get some clarity on that and make sure that we're still aligned there. But the plan is to make sure that all of that stuff is open. If it is in repos, hopefully they're at least public. But
yeah, so I think
that to keep it private.
Makes sense. And then I think there's a little bit of challenge to bring these together. So OCC for the community will keep pointers to the open repositories, and then what can be brought together will be, but we just want to point to all these, and most of these projects should be open. So that works out perfectly well. Then it's just a judgment call where if it's which of these are somewhat separate, which is combined, etc. So it sounds like that will work out. Plowman and OCC. And OCC has a new person, Donna Elbers. I'll introduce you to her.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, even if code doesn't necessarily make it into the upstream, showing derivative works as examples of implementations is really helpful. Just making sure that it's still open is the big important thing. And then there's one thing, Bob, just on your radar that I'm thinking about as well through the implementation, especially related to EKS, is there may be I do think there is one. There should be an opportunity to develop like an EKS blueprint.
Okay.
And being able to target that may give you some leverage with the AWS folks, but that's just a term that I would keep in mind as you have those conversations.
Thank you. And then, I think some of the people, we're having our advancing research with data meshes meeting, and can you put the link in, Michael? And I think some of the work on CSOCs would really be, it's in Chicago, so the people who are close to Chicago, you can give short talks and talk to other people who are trying to implement this stuff, or use your code to implement. So just keep that in mind. That's on, I think, June 13th and 14th, or 12th and 13th or something. The link's in there. Colin, thank you. That was very helpful. Back to you, Michael.
A quick question from me as well, and Bob, for the room, really, if anyone is submitting conference talks or like calls for papers and things like that, we just submitted one related to data commons for EduCause is one, but if someone knows about some others, we'd love to try to submit to the same conferences and get some more density, like some more talks at the same places, and help champion this stuff. I don't know if there's a way to share that though.
Yeah, we can do that through OCC and CDIS. They're building sort of community pages so that we can find opportunities and get these things out there.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, let us know, Colin, if your talk is accepted. You just submitted a proposal. Is that all right now?
Yeah, the CFP. So we haven't heard back yet, but that was one, and we're looking at some others, but I don't really know which ones are good ones to talk to, and so that's if I share some of those names, maybe I'll just share some of the names of some of the conferences we're looking at, and people can say, yeah, worth it or not. Maybe that'll be a good way to get the conversation started.
Yeah. Cool. All right, I think we've gone around the room. Thanks, everybody. This is a public reminder for myself and us to decide what topics will be for the next meeting. So maybe we'll circle back at the end, Colin, if there's an opportunity to share more details on what you guys have been working on, you and OCC. All right, Jawad, I'm turning it over to you to give the more in-depth update on what you've been up to, you and your team.
For sure. Thank you so much. I'll start sharing my screen a little bit. So some movement since last time we spoke is that CTDS will start moving to pure Helm-based deployments everywhere, and try to wean off the admin VMs that we have today. So this CSOC portal is going to become a thing that we're going to start rolling out internally as well, as the way to get overview and insight of what's going on in some of our environments as well. So that's shaped a little bit of what we have developed that we probably need to have in a little bit for more mature state. Yeah. Some impact that it'll have on us is just how we spin up our dev environments, our CI environments. So there's a lot of work going on in the backend to support that and make that more frictionless in this new world that we're going into. We're also aiming to have the first alpha release of the CSOC portal done soon. I was hoping to have it before this meeting, but I have to solve some security findings that our scanner tool Sneak so nicely pointed out, so that we're not releasing code that is not good or has vulnerabilities. Cool. So basically, I wanted to highlight some things that I heard so far from you guys. Gordon, you guys are working on the CDK deployment. I have not done any more integrations with CDK or any infrastructure as code tool since last time we spoke. But we can do a quick demo of what we have and try to maybe come up with a plan on how we can integrate you guys' work so that we get infrastructure as code features as well within this CSOC portal. I think that could enhance it very, very much. Right now, it kind of assumes that you have your infrastructure ready, and we take it from there. But this would be a huge enhancement to this this portal. And Alan, we can also discuss like how Crow could, would, should fit into this architecture. Really, really excited to hear whatever you guys find out about it. Yeah, sounds like an interesting project. Cool. Some new features that we have added that we use internally since last time is the integration with Squid proxies. So this gives you the overview of what's going on with Squid. Squid is one of the things that we managed through the admin VMs today that we have to find a solution for. So this ended up in here. So now the idea is that you can swap your Squid proxies, you can get into them, look at the rules, potentially also in the future change the rule set so you can add your own whitelists or whatever, but that means we have to do some Terraform changes to achieve that. For those of you who are not familiar with Squid, Squid is our egress proxy. So within our network, when we set up any outgoing connections to the internet, we have a set of whitelisted domains that anything running in the production network can talk to. And that is what this dashboard basically is helping us to get an overview of. Also had some improvement to the deployment of Gen3. A tighter integration with AWS so far first, because that's where we spin up our dev environments and CI environments. So what that means basically is that we have the certificate manager show us a list of available certificates that we can use to do our deployment. So these are all in Amazon's certificate manager. If you add more, or if you want any other domain, you have to add it to Amazon certificate manager first. I'm hoping to, maybe if it's helpful or not, that's something that we can ask if that's worthwhile to build in an integration so that you can generate these certificates as well. Today we do that manually as an outside step. That might be helpful for new users getting into Gen3. But over here, you can get to define your host name. So I can call this one jawad.dev.planexplanet. The way I have set this up as well is that any like subdomains of this domain goes to the same load balancer. So you can put in anything in here. So that means that spinning up multiple environments using the same domain or subdomain should be really, really simple now. So we're using the same load balancer, so you don't even have to set up DNS. And we have this little form to say like which services that you require to deploy into Gen3. I still need to include the docs links that we talked about last time, so you can read more about what each service is doing. And then this view is pretty cool because this view allows you to go in and configure your authentication and authorization. And we have like the mock Google Auth that is really nice when you're doing testing or CI when you don't have like real users. But while all of that is going on, there's a set of like configuration values YAML for Helm that is being generated in the backend. Now the idea is that these should be production ready, quote unquote, so you can check them into Git, and I'll get back to that in just a second. Yeah. There's a workspace configuration as well, where you can configure what sort of workspace flavors you want to present to your users. You can add new containers, you can remove them. The idea is that it should be intuitive for new people that is getting started with Gen3 to spin up all of or configure these portions of Gen3 essentially. There is a little bit here about like the user sync configuration. The language here probably needs some work, but this is how you define where your authorization rules live. You can define them all manually in here, or we can pull them from an S3 bucket, which is how we do it in production today. And then we have a separate process to push that out to S3. And then this actually deploys an environment for you when you hit the deploy button. So now in the background, this is going in and actually deploying. I need to update so that it's more interactive and it tells you that the deployment is happening. Some other changes that is going to be very valuable for us internally at CTDS is just having the ability to view all of our deployments across all of our clusters really easily. So there's this deployment overview dashboard. The environment that we just spun up, here it is. It's yeah. This is the name of it. This is the namespace that is being deployed into. So this is built on top of Helm, basically, you can see here, but we're also building an integration with Argo CDs because that is how we do the production deployments. And this is where the cool opportunities can be. So right now, this dashboard is very cluster specific. We have like which cluster are you doing, and then we're doing operations. What I'm hoping to do, build into the future, basically, is have the dashboard build in views or pages that are environment specific. And we have the ability to go in and look at like what are pods running in what namespaces and whatnot, but it doesn't give you the full picture of like what's going on with my deployment. So the idea is that this sort of page, you can have a glance. Okay, so there's a deployment here and it seems to be degraded. And once you click here, it should give you the view of why it's degraded, which part is degraded. And that's actually really, really simple, building on top of Argo CD's APIs. So this right here is a example response from what Argo CD is building that we can build certain views on top of. So we can go in here and we can get a list of all the resources that it's actually creating, if they're succeeding, and if they're failing, why they're failing, which part is out of sync. So at a glance, you can get a really quick overview whether or not your deployment of whatever you're deploying is in a healthy state or a not so healthy state. Yeah. Then something other than that for us internally at CTDS, which is a little bit on the sideline, I guess. It's not touching this part, but it's called PG Web. We do certain database operations today from the admin VMs just when we're troubleshooting and we have to see what's going on with our databases, or if we have to create a new database, move databases, and we're using Postgres, obviously. So I'm gonna try to see if this can be something that we can integrate with. This would give us a sort of a web view that we can integrate into the CSOC portal, into our databases, so we can have a look into it. And obviously, and I think that needs to happen before we do the database integration, is to completely build out and finish up the authorization and authentication portion of it. It does have a login with Keycloak, but we're not doing any authorization, and anybody who can log in gets full admin rights. And internally at CTDS, that's probably going to be a compliance issue. So we need to start locking down things as we build them out. But I'm really curious to hear some feedbacks on what would be helpful for the community, as we're also like selfishly building it for ourselves to manage all of our own internal deployments as well.
That's a huge amount that you got done, Jawad. When you have good news like this, don't remember to tell me. Every once in a while, I want good news, Colin, from, I read it's a challenging environment for universities now, so thank you for all this progress, Jawad.
For sure.
Yeah, this looks great. I was like, man, I hope you give me the YAML, and you did. It looks awesome.
Yeah. I can also demo the infrastructure as code portion that integrates with what Gordon, you gave me a few months ago. So like this is the idea. Like this view does not make sense. This is just for demo purposes. But the idea is that we can have different targets that we can basically do infrastructure deployments to. We do have some Azure templates that we got from Microsoft a while ago that we can probably reuse and modernize a little bit. But yeah, the CDK basically can run inside the container. We have to define an input and output section here, so it's less terminally, but more like a proper UI, so that new users just getting started with AWS and Gen3 and everything can build on top of the hard work that you guys have been doing in Australia, basically. And we get to add that as a feature within here. And also, if Colin, you guys are doing Terraform for Google Cloud or for any of the other clouds, this would be really, really cool to basically add as a feature. And yeah.
Should Michael, back to you for general discussion from about
I
anything.
have a quick
Go ahead,
question.
Yeah.
So can you explain a little bit more how it works with a version control like Git? Like you said, once the YAML files are generated, then they can be checked into Git. Is that what you said? Or?
Yeah. So basically, this portion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea is that you should like not have any secrets here. This should be sanitized. Like this should be using external secrets manager and all of that, so that you can either copy paste and put it to Git, or I'm trying to work on something for our dev environments as well. So the environments that you saw here, the Gen3 dev main and Gen3 dev Qureshi, basically the idea is that you can just copy this folder, create a new one, and it just automatically creates a new environment for you. It's leveraging a feature called application sets in Argo CD. And what I'm telling you to do is just look for this path for any new folder and then deploy that environment. So here we have the same sort of values YAML files that we sort of saw. Yeah, I'm also trying to do another thing where the base values YAML for all of our internal deployments as this. And you go in here and you have the actual Argo CD application, but with just a few overrides. So you just override the host name and everything else is just coming from the base values YAML file, which makes it a little bit easier for new developers. Hey, I need a new dev environment. Okay, well, you create a PR with a new folder in here. And then you can even override like which Helm branch do I want to deploy, or if you have a separate GitOps branch with other values. So yeah, the idea is that basically whatever gets generated from this this portion right here should be production ready, quote unquote. Yeah. There's going to be some more database configurations that are going to be here. Like, do you want to use an external Aurora? Do you want the internal Postgres that you manage yourself? Do you want database secrets to be pulled from somewhere, or do you want to generate them? Yeah, so that is in the works basically. But yeah.
Thank you. Very cool. For
sure. Another thing that might work out in the community's favor is we have our GitOps repo, which is basically the CD's manifest for security reason, it's been private, but now we're also running all of our integration tests in here every time we make changes. So there might be a way for us to make this public so that the community can also see like how we're doing our Argo CD, how we're leveraging like the cluster level charts, but I can't promise anything, but I'm trying to see if we can do that.
Just teasing everybody with that, Jawad.
Yeah, maybe just putting up a sample so that you can follow it for best practices. Like
Yeah.
consumers can follow it for best practices. That would be awesome.
I believe we already have the sample up and running. I can see if we can add that to the docs, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's check on that.
Yeah. There's a GitOps example repo. But yeah, we can definitely update it with like the latest development and like how we're doing it, everything, and maybe have like the unfunded comments at least in there so that if we can. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Were there other things that Jawad covered that folks had questions on? I think he had a lot of stuff in there.
Jawad, we talked about cross-playing a while back. Just curious if you poked at it at all.
Very timely. Ed is actually looking into it this sprint to see if like we can spin up S3 buckets and IAM roles, but like any supporting infrastructure for a specific service basically can be spun up using crossplane. So like in the Helm charts themselves, if a service requires an S3 bucket or an IAM role or something, then we can have crossplane spin that up. There's gonna be a distinction between like the core infrastructure, like it won't spin up the network, it won't spin up the Kubernetes clusters, but the supporting resources for services is what we're looking into. Crossplane just recently released a new version with namespaced resources. So that was our caveat with Crossplane last time we looked into it, is that it basically took down the EKS API because it created so many CRDs. So it was a no-go for us then, but now that we have the namespaced resources, we can say we just want IAM roles in the CRDs instead of the entire AWS stack. It becomes a little bit more valuable for us. We're still looking into it as it's maturing. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, we're looking at it too.
Awesome. Yeah, maybe you guys beat us to it and we can just merge the work.
Yeah, we'll collab on it for sure.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, excited for that for downstream clusters, but also piggybacking on your Argo CD work.
Yep.
Then the other tip that I had is I don't know if I've been really pleased with it for some of our deployments, but we started using Kona Everest regularly, and I've been really happy with it, the CRD based management of the database configurations. And so if that gives you an easy button or another tool that you can run behind the scenes, just have that on your radar.
Really cool. I've not heard of that one before. What does it do? Oh, it does the. Oh, interesting. So like the database management itself, like per. Oh, yeah.
Right. It doesn't give you like the PG admin view or anything like that, but it's mainly about creating highly available databases internally in a Kubernetes cluster. But I like the CRD approach. You can just apply a custom resource to Kubernetes, and its operator will create the database, whether it needs to be sharded or whatever else needs to be there. You can also specify password and some other things. So it's really helpful for a GitOps approach to creating databases.
That would be actually really cool. So like for my personal projects, I've been using something called Cloud Native PG, which is a Postgres operator. Yeah, this seems like something like that. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's just got multiple database types too.
Mm-hmm. Really cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I'm gonna look into it. Yeah. And Luke, I did not forget, but I have not gotten to like deploy a custom service that we talked about last time. It's just still on the back burner, but the ability to add your own services to your Gen3 deployment and have them still be protected by fence and arborist was a great idea you came up with last time. I just haven't been able to get to it yet.
Thank you very much just for considering it. No need to apologize for anything.
All right, any other feedback on Jawad's demo? Well, I guess just two other things to cover today is any other business, but also be thinking about what we want to do at the next meeting. I think it might be great if we can kind of, do what Bob suggested at the beginning, quick updates, but like sort of rotate around to the extent that folks have something on a featured presentation, Um, and I'm looking at you, Colin, which maybe you can't tell, but you had the largest update, so I don't know if you Chromeware OCC would be able to present at the next meeting in a month.
I'll check. I bet Plowman would like to, but I'll leave that up to him. And then yeah, I'll check with Plowman.
Okay, that's May 28th.
Yeah, one topic that I'm interested in seeing more about, and we talked about it briefly in one of the previous calls, is Jawad went over it really briefly, but the transition away from needing an admin VM for security activity is one that consistently comes up with some folks, and we have to kind of convince people that it's the new way is okay. But I think it would be a good thing maybe to have a deeper dive on if Jawad can show some of that.
Jawad, are we still hoping to get that out by end of June?
Yes, for sure. I've
Good.
written up a timeline plan as well. That yeah, I can take that offline, but yeah, we're on route so far. Knock on wood.
Fantastic.
So Jawad, would you be able to talk about that? I don't know what kind of a length of presentation that requires or needs.
We do have to do a write-up as we go through our migrations so that the community can follow the same things as well. Probably not next meeting, but maybe the next one after that is where we'll have all of that ready. Basically, the idea is basically that we are coming up with processes to migrate an existing cloud automation based admin VM based deployment, turn it into a Argo CD based, basically through a process, through scripts and all of that. But then also, how do you do it safely with a blue-green deployment and make sure everything is set up properly, and then you cut over DNS essentially.
Oh, that's really, really important. Thank you, Jawad.
For sure. It's my team that's doing most of this since I've been busy with the CSOC portal itself. So yeah.
All right, Gordon, you've been very patient. You have your hands up. What would you like to say?
Yeah, so I just would like maybe like status on monitoring and observability, like where we're at.
Oh yeah. That's a good question. Let me share my screen again and bring up. So basically, that's what I meant with spinning up more like environment specific pages in here. So there are a little bit of integration with observability that we've created so far. And like this view doesn't make sense, but the idea is that once you
Jawad, are you sharing your screen? I don't
I
see.
thought I was. I'm sorry. There we go. I forgot to hit the share button. I clicked the screen only. But yeah, there is some integration with Grafana and Loki. So the idea is that we can get, well, I chose the worst environment. Let's do BRH. The idea is that you can get, this is just the access logs, but we can build certain views over other things or other sort of metrics that are coming from Gen3. So like this is going directly out to Loki and giving you this sort of view. Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's one with more traffic, but not full on production data. Yeah. Okay, I can't find one today. I keep hitting the bad ones. this one, maybe. Yeah, anyway, the idea is that you get we can build out like views or dashboard that gives you a view to like how all of your services are doing. Are like is everything responding fine? Is it responding quickly? Which like how many requests do you have in total? There's also like we do have some Grafana based dashboards that we can sort of copy and build in these sort of views in here, like how many pre-signed URLs have you generated, which user has been downloading the most. Yeah, we basically only set up the plumbing that we can query all those different APIs, and the data flowing into those APIs it's basically just happening with Alloy. But yeah, we still have to build out certain views on top of the observability. Did you have a specific observability thing in mind, or just in general with Grafana and building dashboards on top of it?
Yeah, so more of because our approach is to have like more of like a central monitoring thing where we want to be able to like because we don't want to necessarily have give somebody like access to the whole shebang of Helm chart, Gen3 and all that. So let's say we have like more of like a junior person where they can actually just have a dashboard. They can just see what's happening, more like a first responder, like see what's happening on the Gen3 at a much higher level.
Yeah, that's sort of the idea with this. I'll do this one. Like you can here go in and see, oh, we have had 8 400 response or 4xx response. The average response time is this. And then you can see like which services are responding with like the bad codes and why. You can start to drill down into it essentially. Yeah, definitely like once we start building this out more, that's what I meant with environment specific views. So you select one environment instead of cluster, and then you get like different sort of views that are very environment specific. For example, like we have this the jobs dashboard. So if I like look for the environment that I just deployed, okay, maybe not that one, but let's do Aiden's environment. Yeah, the idea is that it should show you these dashboards, and then you can go in and kick them off. But again, this is all part of like building out those environment specific views instead of being like Kubernetes there, cluster there, but like for like you select one environment and then you get to see like everything that's going on in that Gen3 specific environment.
And will it be possible to integrate with that with a status page?
That is possible, yeah. So that like you can get a public page on like what's going on if your service is down.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a
'Cause
separate service for that called Uptime Kuma, but we could potentially build an integration with Uptime Kuma here. Uptime Kuma has the status pages basically. And it does like ping your environments from outside to basically make sure that your environments are accessible from outside. Is that the sort of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so at the moment we're using the AWS manager Grafana, and so we're able to easily integrate with status page. So I just posted a link to one of our status page.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so there's our Australian cardiovascular disease data commons.
So status page, is that a paid service or do you host it yourself?
It's a page service by Atlassian.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can integrate with Jira and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a number of Kubernetes-based versions of that you can self-host. You just have to pass it the health endpoint that you want to check. Maybe it would be good to show. Do we, Jawad, remind, is there a collection of like app integrations or like a repo for third-party apps to show some of these integrations, like people can kind of showcase?
We don't have anything built out yet, although there is functionality in the CSOC portal to basically, I'll show it if it's up and running. So that's what I call the App Store functionality. But that would be cool actually to have. Right now, I'm just using the Bitnami repository as an example. So it goes in and it shows you all of the different charts that are available. Since we've already built out the REST API around Helm, this can do like Helm search basically in the CLI. And you can build out different views of what's in that repository. I think what you're talking about, if you build out certain apps that would be good to like support Gen3, such as the status pages, maybe Grafana itself as a like observability thing. We're also looking into like more profiling the application specifically in like developer environments, like what is using the memory, what is using the CPU, which call is, so basically like Datadog's APM. But that would be cool to come up with, like if we come up with a collection of applications, even though they're third party, but that would be really, really nice to have included within like Gen3's supporting app store. New Vector comes to mind, like that you guys basically worked on a while ago, and we have Gen3 specific templates for those as well that you donated. And yeah, something like status pages or other things would probably be good.
Yeah, it's like you could almost have like a marketplace of like apps or Helm charts, but a predefined values file that we know works in that environment, or along maybe some pre-populated variables related to some of the Gen 3 endpoints or some things there, just like a sample of,
Yeah,
and it'll deploy alongside your app. Could be interesting. That'd be cool.
yeah. Kubecast maybe. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, the status page is a good one. The observability tools is a good one. The security tools is a good one. That's just, maybe that'll help people kind of do things the Kubernetes way a little bit
Yeah.
too.
I see Sarah has her hands
Yeah,
up.
Sarah, what would you
Well,
like to?
I was going to suggest that in our new docs, we actually have that whole blog area where we were hoping to get people who are talking about, third-party stuff or other things that they've integrated and, sort of ways they've customized their Gen 3 applications. So all of those sound like great topics for our blog section. And then we could
True.
point to this new repo that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And me, where do I find that?
Docs.gen3.org, and then if you hit the blog link, I think.
It was one of the things that came up from the community forum where I couldn't walk down the street in Chicago without someone asking me for better documentation. Now the team has produced great documentation and can keep it up to date. They just rewrote the whole system. It uses make docs, is that right, Michael?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's easy to keep up, and we're looking forward to bringing in community content into it.
Yeah, the first one that's in there is comprehensive observability stack with Helm. Awesome.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thanks, Sarah. We'd love to get people to contribute to that. Okay, cool. We are actually we have 8 minutes left. So one thing I wanted to, before I forgot, Jawad, do you think we'll have that repo opened by the next meeting then? I know you're working through some security feedback, I guess, before that happens. Oh, Jawad, are you still there?
I'm sorry, I finally hit the mute button.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll try to submit the public request hopefully today if I solve all the issues. If not, then early next week.
Okay, cool. So maybe we can have a quick update on that next month just to track
Yeah.
that. share with everybody. And then I'm putting a link to we do have a Slack channel that we haven't really utilized, but it might be worth taking a look again. I know I haven't looked at it as often as I should because Alan posted something that I only got back to him yesterday about. But this might be a good way for the working group to communicate if you find it useful. All right. So we have an agenda for next month, headlined by, well, you're going to follow up with Plum and I guess Colin to see if that works, but that's sort of tentatively what I'm imagining. And then even the next meeting, I guess, it sounds like Jawad might be able to talk more about the admin VM migration. Were there other topics that anybody wanted to cover or any thoughts for today?
I just want to thank everyone working on the CSOCs. There's just been a lot of progress, and I think it's really going to be good for the community. And you know, I think as we build more commons, there's more. It's just really good in terms of potential patient impact, especially as we can build AI capabilities into the commons. So I just want to thank, this is a lot of progress from the last couple times we've gotten together. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. And I just posted a link to next week's community forum, not specifically related to CSOC in any way, but should be of interest. And
What's the topic?
data analysis. But it's very broadly interpreted. So we're going to hear from a couple different groups, including the group that Alan works with, on, tell us about your commons and how the users approach data analysis in it, since this is handled very differently by different projects. So will be interesting to hear how people are approaching that. Okay, anything else from anyone before we break? Okay, all right, thanks all. Talk to you all
Thank
later.
you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.